My name is Emma Walker, 32 years old. I live in a small town called Brookhaven, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone and gossip moves faster than the mail truck. I run a cozy little bakery on Main Street, Sweet Haven, where mornings smell like cinnamon rolls and burnt espresso shots, and afternoons are filled with laughter, local chatter, and the hum of country radio. I married Ryan Walker 8 years ago. He's a high school football coach, tall, handsome in a rugged way, the kind of man small-town mothers secretly wish their daughters would marry. Ryan's best friend since childhood is Ethan Miller, a mechanic who owns the local auto shop. They've been inseparable since grade school. Ryan was the golden boy, Ethan the wild one. Together, they were trouble in all the charming ways small towns forgive. For years, I thought our lives were perfect. Simple, predictable, warm. But the truth is, perfection is a curtain. And behind it, things rot quietly. It started small. Ryan began coming home late. Extra practice, he'd say. The team needs me. I believed him because I wanted to. Marriage, I'd learned, isn't about questioning every story. It's about choosing which ones to believe. Then Ethan started stopping by the bakery more often. At first, I thought it was just friendship. He'd always been around. He'd lean on the counter with his usual grin, teasing me about overworking or burning cookies again, but his eyes held something different lately, softer. He'd linger a bit too long when our hands brushed. I told myself it was my imagination. Then one morning, when I was opening up, Ethan showed up early, before the sun, before the smell of coffee. He looked restless. "Emma," he said quietly, "you ever feel like this town's too small for all its secrets?" I laughed it off. Brookhaven's always been full of gossip. "Yeah," he said, eyes narrowing, "but not all gossip's wrong." He didn't explain, and I didn't ask. But that moment stuck with me, like a splinter you can't pull out. 2 weeks later, Ryan left for an out-of-town game. I decided to surprise him with homemade pastries for the trip, his favorite blueberry muffins. But when I went to pack them, I noticed something strange, a second phone in his gym bag. It wasn't his usual work phone. This one was old, cracked, and cheap. My stomach twisted. I told myself not to look. That trust meant not prying, but curiosity is a slow poison, and I was already drinking it. I opened it. No lock screen. Just a handful of messages from one saved number. Her. Missed you today. Couldn't stop thinking about last night. Ryan, you know I can't talk here. I'll call you later. My heart pounded so hard I thought I'd faint. Every breath felt sharp, like I was inhaling broken glass. There were more messages. Flirty, secretive. I scrolled up until one froze me in place. Her. He almost saw us. You need to be careful when you're with Emma. I read it twice. He. Who was he? Then, just one photo. A blurred image of someone's hand. Female, wearing a silver bracelet. The kind of bracelet I'd seen 1,000 times on someone who came into my bakery almost every week. Ethan's wife. Maya. That night, Ryan called. I answered calmly, though my hands shook so hard I nearly dropped the phone. "Hey, babe," he said cheerfully. "You doing okay?" "I'm fine," I said softly. "How's the game prep?" "Long day. Miss you, though. I'll be home Sunday." "Good," I said. "Can't wait." I hung up and sat there in silence. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just listened. To the hum of the refrigerator, the tick of the wall clock, and the faint sound of rain starting outside. By morning, I knew what I had to do. I called Ethan. When he showed up at the bakery, I was in the back kneading dough. He looked tired, like he hadn't slept. "What's wrong?" he asked. I handed him the phone. He stared at the screen for a long time. His jaw tightened, his eyes darkened. Finally, he whispered, "That's Maya's bracelet." I nodded. He didn't speak for a full minute. Then, softly, he said, "Guess we both married liars." For the next few days, Ethan and I became allies. We weren't friends anymore. We were two people holding the same wound. We met in quiet places, behind the bakery, in his garage after hours, to talk, compare timelines, piece together the betrayal like detectives too tired to care about justice. He told me he'd suspected for months. She'd get weird about her phone, he said. Said it was work. Guess her new project was my best friend. Anger boiled inside me, but under it was something else. Shame. I kept asking myself how I hadn't seen it, how love can make you blind enough to miss what's right in front of you. Then, one evening, Ethan and I sat in his truck watching the sunset. "I don't know what to do," I admitted finally. "Part of me wants to confront them. Part of me wants to disappear." Ethan turned to me. "Maybe we find out everything first, then decide." His voice was steady, but his eyes were raw. That was the night I realized something dangerous. We were starting to depend on each other. We began watching them. I hated myself for it, but I couldn't stop. Ryan's excuses became predictable. Late practices, team meetings, errands that never ended. Ethan started tracking when Maya left the house. Patterns formed. One Friday, Ethan called me. "They're at the motel off Highway 12, he said. His voice was calm, too calm. I drove there without thinking, parked across the street, watched Ryan's truck pull in, Maya stepping out of her car a few minutes later. When they disappeared inside, my world fell apart. I didn't cry then either. I just felt empty, like someone had hollowed me out. Ethan sat beside me, his hands gripping the steering wheel so tight his knuckles went white. "You still want proof?" he asked. I nodded. He took a picture. We drove away in silence. The night we saw them together, something inside me broke, but not in the way I expected. It wasn't dramatic. No screaming, no sobbing. It was quiet. Too quiet. When I got home, I took off my wedding ring and set it on the kitchen counter beside the phone. The metal left a faint circle on the wood, like a ghost of what it used to mean. The house felt different, emptier, colder. Every photo on the wall looked like a lie. Our wedding picture on the mantel caught my eye. Ryan's smile, my white dress, the promise of forever. I turned the frame face down. The next morning, Ethan showed up at the bakery again. He looked worse than the night before, pale, hollow-eyed, like he hadn't slept. "I didn't know where else to go," he said quietly. I motioned him in. "Coffee?" He nodded, and I poured him a cup. Neither of us spoke for a while. The silence between us was strange, not awkward, just heavy, like we were standing in the ruins of something only we understood. Finally, he said, "We can't just let them get away with it." I looked up. "You mean tell them we know?" He shook his head. "No, not yet. If we confront them, they'll twist it, make us the crazy ones. I say we let them hang themselves first." His tone scared me a little. There was something dark in it. Anger sharpened into a plan. "What are you suggesting?" I asked carefully. "Proof," he said. "Real proof. Not just photos, messages, calls, everything." I hesitated. "Ethan, I don't want to play games. I just want to know the truth." He leaned forward. "That is the truth, Emma. We both deserve it." Over the next few days, Ethan became obsessed. He installed a small tracker on Maya's car, said he needed to know where she was going. I didn't like it, but I didn't stop him. Maybe part of me wanted him to find something, to confirm that what I'd seen wasn't some cruel misunderstanding. Meanwhile, Ryan was acting sweeter than ever. Flowers on the table, random texts saying he loved me, as if guilt made him romantic. One night, while I was cleaning the kitchen, his phone buzzed. He was in the shower, I shouldn't have looked, but I did. A new message flashed on the screen. Her, I miss your hands. No name this time, just a heart emoji. My stomach flipped. I deleted the message before he could see that I'd read it. Then I walked out to the backyard and sat under the oak tree. The air was thick, crickets buzzing in the dark. I thought about every conversation, every touch, every I love you that might have been a lie. Ethan and I talked almost every day now. Sometimes about the affair, sometimes about nothing. Just life, pain, loneliness. I didn't mean for it to happen, but we started depending on each other in quiet ways. One afternoon, I found him fixing an old car in his shop. Sweat glistened on his arms. The smell of oil filled the air. "Any news?" I asked. He wiped his hands on a rag. "They met again yesterday. Same motel." I sighed, feeling the weight of the words settle in my chest. He looked at me then, really looked. "You don't deserve this, Emma." "Neither do you," I whispered. Something passed between us, an understanding too intimate for words. For a second, I thought he might reach for me, but he didn't. He just turned away and said, "I'll get you copies of the texts soon." 3 days later, everything came crashing down. It was Saturday morning. The bakery was busy when Maya walked in. I hadn't seen her since the night at the motel. She smiled like nothing was wrong. "Hey, Emma," she chirped. "Thought I'd grab a few croissants." Her voice was sugary, but her eyes were different, watchful. Maybe she knew. Maybe Ryan had told her something. I handed her the box. Then she smiled again and walked out, leaving me frozen behind the counter. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just an affair. It was cruel, deliberate, a betrayal made worse by the fact that she wanted me to know. That night, I didn't wait for Ryan to come home. I drove to the motel. Ethan had sent me a message earlier. "They're here again." When I arrived, his truck was parked down the road. He was already outside pacing. His jaw was tight. "They're in room 14, he said. "You sure you want to do this?" "Yes," I said. "I'm done pretending." We walked to the door together. I could hear faint laughter from inside. My pulse thundered in my ears. I raised my hand and knocked. Silence. Then footsteps. The door cracked open, and there was Ryan, half-dressed, face pale as chalk. "Emma," he said, voice breaking. Maya appeared behind him, wrapped in a sheet. Her smile faltered. Ethan pushed the door open. "Go ahead," he said coldly. "Tell us how long this has been going on." They didn't speak. Ryan's mouth opened and closed like a man drowning. I stepped forward, my voice shaking but steady. 8 years, Ryan. 8 years of marriage, and this is what I get?" He reached for me. "Emma, please, it's not what you think." "Oh, it's exactly what I think." Ethan's voice was low, dangerous. "You were my brother, Ryan. You swore you'd never hurt me." Maya crossed her arms. "Don't make this dramatic, Ethan. It just happened." "Just happened?" I repeated, stunned. "You're sleeping with my husband, and that's your excuse?" She shrugged. "People change." I laughed bitterly. "Then I hope you both change into something better than this." I turned and walked out. Ethan followed without a word. Behind us, I could hear Ryan calling my name, but I didn't look back. For days, I didn't leave the house. My phone buzzed constantly. Ryan calling, texting, begging me to talk. I ignored them all. Finally, he showed up at the door. "Emma, please," he said, eyes red. "It was a mistake. I ended it." I stared at him. "You ended it because you got caught." He didn't deny it. "I love you," he said softly. "Can't we start over?" "Love?" I said. "You don't get to use that word anymore." He tried to reach for my hand, but I stepped back. "You need to go." When he left, I sank to the floor and finally cried. the kind of crying that comes from the soul, deep and uncontrollable. Later that night, Ethan texted me. "You okay?" "No," I replied. "But I will be." Weeks passed. Ryan moved into a motel. Maya left town, supposedly staying with her sister. The gossip spread fast in Brookhaven, but I didn't care anymore. The bakery became my escape. I threw myself into work, baking until my hands ached. People came by to whisper condolences disguised as small talk. I smiled and said I was fine. But every now and then, Ethan would stop by late, after closing. We'd sit on the back steps, drinking coffee in silence. One night, he said, "You ever wonder if this was meant to happen? To show us who they really were?" I looked at him. "I don't know, but I'm tired of hating them." He nodded slowly. "Me too." The air between us softened. For the first time in months, I felt peace. Not happiness, but the beginning of it. When he left, he touched my shoulder gently. "Good night, Emma." And for the first time since my world fell apart, I smiled. The days grew longer, softer, quieter. Autumn arrived in Brookhaven like a sigh. The leaves turned copper, and the air smelled like rain and smoke. I spent most of my time at the bakery, keeping busy. People think work can numb pain. It doesn't, but it gives it shape. Something you can control. Ryan texted less now. His last message had been 3 weeks ago. "I'm sorry. Please talk to me." I hadn't replied. There was nothing left to say. Maya was gone for good. Word was she'd sold their house and left town. Some said she'd moved in with her sister. Others whispered she was living in another state. I didn't care which story was true. All I knew was that she was out of my life, and that was enough. Ethan and I fell into a rhythm. He'd stop by after work, usually just before closing. We never planned it, but he always seemed to show up when I needed him most. Some nights we talked for hours. Other nights, we didn't need words. The silence was comfortable, a kind of truce between two broken people. One night, I was cleaning up when I heard the bell above the bakery door. Ethan walked in, hair messy, grease on his hands. "You close in 5 minutes," I said, smiling a little. He grinned back. "Then I'm right on time." I poured him coffee, like always. He nodded. "Same here. I keep thinking if I drive far enough, I'll outrun it, but pain's a stubborn hitchhiker." I smiled faintly. "Then maybe we stop running." He looked at me for a long time. "Maybe we do." A few days later, a letter arrived. Ryan's handwriting, no return address, just my name, written in the careful way he always did when he was nervous. I almost threw it away, but curiosity won. I sat down at the kitchen table and unfolded it. "Emma, I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I need you to understand. What happened with Maya wasn't love. It was weakness. I was lost and she was there. I hate myself for it. You were everything good in my life. I ruined it. I see that now. Please, if there's anything left of what we had, meet me at the lake next Sunday. Just to talk. Ryan." I read it twice. The words didn't move me. Not the way they once would have, but something in me wanted closure. Maybe I needed to hear him say it out loud. That night, I told Ethan. "You sure that's a good idea?" he asked. "I'm not sure about anything," I admitted, "but I need to end it properly." He nodded slowly. "Then I'll be nearby, just in case." Sunday came gray and cold. The lake was still, the water silver under the clouds. Ryan was already there, hands in his jacket pockets. He looked older, thinner, like regret had carved him out from the inside. "Emma," he said softly when he saw me. "Ryan." For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The only sound was the wind moving through the trees. "I don't expect you to forgive me," he said finally. I just needed to see you, to tell you I'm sorry, face to face. I nodded. You already said that. He winced. I know, but I keep thinking about everything we had, about how I threw it away. I don't even understand why I did it. Because you could, I said simply. Because you thought I'd never find out. He lowered his head. You're right. The silence stretched again. Do you love her? I asked. No, he said quickly. It wasn't love. It was, I don't know, escape. And now? He looked up, eyes glassy. Now I just miss you. I felt a strange pity. Not love, not anger, just sadness for what we'd lost. Ryan, I'll always wish things had been different. But I can't go back. Not after everything. He nodded slowly. Then I'll stop trying. When I walked away, I felt lighter. Not happy, but free. The kind of freedom that comes from finally putting down something heavy. Ethan was waiting by his truck when I got back to town. He didn't ask what happened, just handed me a cup of coffee. How'd it go? I think it's over, I said. He nodded. Good. You deserve a clean start. I smiled. So do you. That night, we drove out past the fields, where the stars were bright and the air smelled like hay. We parked by an old dirt road and sat on the hood of his truck, not saying much. Then Ethan turned to me. Emma, there's something I need to tell you. I looked at him. What is it? He hesitated. I think I'm falling for you. The words hung in the air between us. My breath caught. Ethan? I know it's soon, he said quickly, and I know it's messy, but I can't pretend I don't feel it. Not after everything we've been through. I didn't answer right away. My heart was pounding. You're the only person who really understands what this feels like. You were there when everything fell apart. That means something. He stepped closer. Then don't fight it. I met his eyes, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel broken. I felt alive. When he kissed me, it wasn't rushed or desperate. It was gentle, like two people finally allowing themselves to hope again. By the next morning, half the town probably knew. Brookhaven was like that. News spread faster than wildfire. But surprisingly, I didn't care. People whispered, of course. Emma and Ethan, they'd say, shaking their heads. Can you believe it? Let them talk. For once, I wasn't living my life to make other people comfortable. Still, not everyone was kind. Ryan came to the bakery one morning, face tight. So, you and Ethan now? He asked, voice sharp. I met his gaze. Yes, and it's none of your business. He scoffed. You think that'll last? He's just using you to get back at me. I crossed my arms. You lost the right to comment on my life the moment you betrayed me. His face fell, the anger fading into something sadder. I really did ruin everything, didn't I? Yes, I said quietly. You did. He left without another word. When I told Ethan later, he sighed. One night, I closed the bakery late and walked outside. The street was quiet, the snow falling in soft flakes. Ethan's truck pulled up beside me. Need a ride? He asked, grinning. I laughed, brushing snow from my hair. Only if you promise hot chocolate and no more sad songs. He smiled. Deal. As we drove through the empty streets, I realized something. Pain doesn't vanish. It transforms. It becomes part of you, but it doesn't have to define you. And in that moment, watching the snow blur past the windows, I finally smiled for real. By January, the gossip had cooled. In a small town like Brookhaven, even the biggest scandals fade once someone else slips up. The world keeps spinning, the same people still wave from their porches, and life, slowly, stubbornly, goes on. The bakery was thriving again. Maybe people came for the pastries, maybe for the story. Either way, I didn't care. I'd stopped worrying about what others whispered. The only opinions that mattered were the ones that walked in with a smile and left with powdered sugar on their lips. Ethan was part of my life now, not in some fairy tale way, more like something quiet, steady, real. He'd fix cars all day, then come by in the evening to help close up shop. Sometimes we'd sit by the window, the smell of cinnamon and rain filling the air, and just watch the world outside. He never tried to rush me. He understood that healing isn't a race. One cold Tuesday afternoon, I was frosting cupcakes when the bakery doorbell jingled. I looked up, expecting a customer, but it was Maya. For a second, I thought I was imagining her. She looked different, tired, thinner, hair cut short, but those eyes, sharp and defiant, were the same. "Emma," she said softly, "can we talk?" My hands froze over the icing bag. "You've got a lot of nerve coming here." "I know," she said quickly. "I wouldn't have, but I needed to tell you something." I crossed my arms. "Make it quick." She hesitated, then said, "Ryan's not doing well. He's been drinking a lot. He called me last week, said he wanted to apologize to both of us." I sighed. "Then let him apologize. I've already moved on." "I can see that," she said, glancing around the shop. "You look happy." Her voice trembled, and for the first time, she looked more lost than cruel. "I didn't come to stir things up," she said. "I came because I wanted to say I'm sorry too. For everything." I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to tell her to leave, to take her guilt elsewhere. But another part, the part that had learned how heavy bitterness can be, just looked at her and said quietly, "Thank you." She nodded, eyes glassy. "You deserved better." "So did you," I said. We stood there a moment in silence. Then she turned and walked out into the cold, leaving the faint scent of rain and regret behind her. That night, I told Ethan about it while we were sitting on the couch, a blanket over our legs and a fire crackling in the small hearth. He frowned. "You think she was telling the truth?" "I think she was," I said, "and for once, I don't need to hate her." He reached for my hand. "You've got a bigger heart than I do." I smiled faintly. Forgiving her doesn't mean forgetting. It just means I'm done carrying her mistakes with me. He nodded, then kissed my temple. "That's one of the things I love about you." The words slipped out of him naturally, but they hung in the air. I looked at him, heart thudding softly. "Say that again," I whispered. He smiled. "I love you, Emma." It wasn't a grand confession, no fireworks, no drama, just a simple truth said by a man who'd already proven it with his actions, and for the first time, I didn't feel guilty for loving him back. By spring, Brookhaven was waking up again. The annual spring festival filled the square with food stalls, laughter, and country music. Kids ran with cotton candy, old men played cards, and for a moment, it felt like the town I'd always loved again. Ethan and I walked hand in hand through the crowd. People looked, whispered, but most smiled. A few even waved. Mrs. Henderson, my elderly neighbor, stopped me by the lemonade stand. "Emma Walker. Well, I suppose I should say Emma something else now, shouldn't I?" I laughed, Ryan's voice. I froze. "What do you want, Ryan?" "I just wanted to say thank you," he said quietly. "Maya told me you didn't hate us anymore. I don't deserve it, but thank you." I exhaled slowly. "You don't need to thank me. Just live better." "I'm trying," he said. "I moved to Nashville, got a new coaching job. I'm going to therapy. I'm trying to be someone I'm not ashamed of." I closed my eyes. "Good. I hope you find peace." "I will," he said softly. "And Emma, I'm glad you found someone who treats you right. That caught me off guard. You know about Ethan?" He gave a small laugh. Small town, remember? Just be happy, okay? For the first time since everything fell apart, I didn't hear pain in his voice. Just acceptance. When we hung up, I sat there for a while, staring at the phone, feeling the strange calm that comes when a chapter finally, truly ends. Summer came again, bright and full of life. Ethan and I spent weekends at the lake, fishing or doing nothing at all. Sometimes silence said more than words ever could. One evening, as the sun set, he pulled something from his pocket, a small box. My heart stopped. Ethan. He opened it slowly. Inside was a simple silver ring, elegant and modest. I'm not trying to replace what you had, he said. I just want to build something new, with you. No lies, no ghosts. Just us. Tears stung my eyes. You're sure? He smiled. I've never been more sure of anything. I didn't even realize I was crying until he brushed my cheek with his thumb. Yes, I whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. He laughed, slipped the ring onto my finger, and kissed me under the fading light. The lake shimmered gold behind us, and for a moment it felt like the whole world had gone still, like it was watching us start again. A year later, people still talked about it. How Emma Walker, the woman whose husband cheated with his best friend's wife, ended up marrying that very best friend. Some said it was strange. Some said it was poetic justice. But those who really knew us just smiled and said, that's life. Messy, painful, beautiful life. Ryan sent us a wedding card. No return address, just a simple note. You both deserved better. Be happy. I kept it tucked in the back of my recipe book. Not because I missed him, but because forgiveness deserves to be remembered too. Now, when I open the bakery every morning, I start with the same ritual. Turn on the lights, tie my apron, and glance at the little framed photo on the wall. It's not of Ryan, not of Ethan either. It's the sign above my door, Sweet Haven. Because that's what this place became. Not just a bakery, but a home. A reminder that even after the worst heartbreak, there's room for something kind, something warm, something sweet. Ethan still teases me about working too much. I still roll my eyes when he tracks flour across the floor. But when I lock up at night and we walk home under the streetlights, I think about how far we've come, how pain turned into peace, how betrayal became beginning, and how, sometimes, the end of one love story is just the quiet start of another.